Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice Kupfer. I'm head of marketing for Omnilert. First, I want to thank you all for joining us today for this Omnilert Gun Detect webinar. We really appreciate your attendance here with us. We are holding webinars on a semi-regular basis, and our next one will be November 10th at 2 p.m. And I'm telling you that in case you would like to join us again, or you'd like to share or refer one of your colleagues to our webinars. We post them on our website and on our social media sites, so please check with us there. And while you're there, if you'd like to like and follow us, that would be terrific so that we can stay in touch with one another. Our agenda today is very simple. We are going to be covering Omnilert's Gun Detect technology. It is an AI-powered SaaS technology that provides visual detection of a gun. The highlight of the presentation today will be a live demonstration of Gun Detect so that you can see firsthand how the software works. Our presenter today is Eric Polovich. He is a national account manager with Omnilert, and he doesn't want me to say this, but he's an absolute expert on gun detection and preventative safety solutions. So Eric, thank you so much for helping us out today.
Thank you.
We expect our presentation will last about 30 minutes. We'll conclude with a question and answer session. And there is a chat box that probably at the bottom of your screen that you can use to enter any questions, and we will be sure to get all of them answered for you. Everyone will be on mute while Eric is presenting. And that is about it. With that, I will say once again, thank you for joining us, and thanks again. Take care. Turn it over to you, Eric.
All righty. Let's see. Janice, can you go ahead and there we go. I'm going to see if I can present my screen. And now we should be seeing my screen.
Yes.
Right. All righty. First off, yes, my name is Eric Polovich. I've been with Omnilert for about 12 years as an account manager. Omnilert's been around since 2004, about 18 years. And we started as it says, a pioneer in emergency mass notification. Some folks say that we started the industry in its modern form. I don't pay attention to that. What it really came down to is our founders, two IT folks, one of them specializing in ADA compliance and text to listening devices for the hearing impaired. The other one, an internet guy, came together and said that, students and other individuals deserve to be safe on campus, whether it's a corporate campus or college campus. And they were surprised that there was no way to mass notify folks in the days of the internet. They came together, Omnilert was born, and we specialized in notification for many years, pushing messages, broadcasting messages out to multimodal devices. And over the years, we went from just notification broadcast, emergency messaging, to two-way communication, to what we call mass engagement, which is two-way communication at scale, maintaining that one system to many users and back again paradigm. And then we started folding in preventative measures, things like panic button capabilities, things like automation of messaging, National Weather Service integration, and ultimately what we're here to talk about today a little bit, Omnilert's AI gun detection product. In our 18-year history, I don't think we've had something that I've been as excited about since I walked in the door, just because it is kind of groundbreaking. Omnilert Gun Detect, first off, is a visual detection system. And what that means is it works by monitoring video feeds that are coming from existing or new security camera or surveillance systems. It's not an array of microphones listening for a shot, which is reactionary, or big metal detectors or stanchions placed at the entrance of buildings, which is limited to indoor coverage, requires a substantial hardware investment, and tends to change the aesthetic feel of a campus. Visual gun detection utilizes IP-based security cameras, and being a visual system, it can provide advanced warning of a potential emergency rather than waiting until it's too late and shots have been fired. Omnilert's gun detection platform uses an advanced artificial intelligence to monitor camera feeds. It's able to detect guns with a high degree of reliability. It can distinguish between handguns and rifles. The advantage of AI, of course, is that it's able to work in real time, 24/7, 365. We train our AI and use what we call a three-step detection system. The AI is very sophisticated, and it takes a three-step approach. It looks for humans and it looks for guns. It looks to see whether the humans are holding the guns, whether they're moving in the way that guns move, whether those people are interacting with their environment and brandishing that weapon. We use this to reduce false detections. That's probably the biggest boogeyman of the industry. And secondly, we use a human in the loop validation. Gun Detect becomes a partner to your safety personnel, passes detections on to a selection of people of your choice within your organization for validation. They receive an image and a video of the detection event in real time so that they can confirm whether or not it is a legitimate detection. Upon confirmation, that's when they can initiate response protocol quickly and easily using Omnilert's automation capabilities. The approach has the advantage of coupling the reliability of AI with the decision-making capabilities of a trained staff, because not every detection, not every gun detective represents the same threat. We operate all over the place, and some states have more guns than others. Gun detection is implemented in a hybrid solution with on-premises detection and cloud alerting. The detection software runs at your organization's sites using standardized PC hardware and connecting to your security system. Camera system just provides feeds that the gun detection system monitors. Those feeds have to conform to an RTSP standard. We like OnVIF if there's any camera folks on the call, but we don't require it. All in all, RTSP streams are most of the available IP camera systems out there today. We can work with most of them, whether that stream's coming from the camera or coming from the NVR. The detection system then integrates out with Omnilert's cloud-based alerting system, which will send the initial alert out to a group of people that you designate to validate. Now, simultaneously or alternately, we have the ability of pushing a message out from the server to on-prem devices as well. So if you're pushing into your Genetec NVR, for example, they can create an event from that feed directly from the server, either in addition to the cloud alert or in place of. Once the situation's been identified, it's just a single click with an Omnilert to initiate your emergency response, or your own emergency response procedures can take over. This allows a variety of responses to be predetermined to ensure that the appropriate plan is enacted quickly, and flawlessly. So I'm going to go ahead and take a step back now and turn on a little demo unit that I have here. We're going to do an actual detection, and then I'll talk a little bit about Omnilert's, our alerting platform, how that works, and then we'll move into some questions. So give me just a sec. I do need to take my headset off here, and I need to temporarily, shrink this down. And we are looking now at my Omnilert notification system. I'm going to drag over just a little view into my gun detection system. Now, I've got kind of the same thing that you'd see in a small production location here. This is a couple cameras set up in my home office here, and I'm running the AI against these cameras. It's literally looking, no, that one's not on, literally looking for firearms. So I'm going to get up and move around a little bit, and we should see some things happen on the cell phone over there in a second. And you should still see me. Hi. Now, as I move around in front of the camera, that camera's looking for me. It's looking for a person. And as I'm moving around, it's looking for how I'm interacting with my environment. You'll see that it saw my phone and pretty quickly identified that it was a cell phone. We accidentally invented a pretty good cell phone detection system as we're trying to monitor guns. So it is looking at me. It's looking at my surroundings, and it's trying to, reach out and see where my extremities are, what I'm doing. And specifically, it's looking for something that meets the profile of a firearm. And we're looking literally frame for frame at me, at my extremities, at my surroundings. And we're looking for pistols and rifles. We're not image matching system. This is literally a black box neural network AI that has been trained to identify firearms. Specifically, in my case, I'm looking at about 20 frames per second. The card in my server here analyzing each one of those frames, looking for a vector, looking for something constant, looking for something that it considers a detection event. When it reaches that AI makes that split-second decision. We push out in a couple different formats. One, you probably heard the noises, you saw the flashing lights. That's a quick push out to the AWS network and hit my Alexa devices. Two, we pushed out to the Omnilert network, and we should have gotten a text message and a couple things. So we got a notice specifically saying that there was a gun detected in the office. When I go ahead and tap to open it up, it's going to push me over to my Omnilert application. My Omnilert application, part of the Omnilert emergency notification system, is what we use to push these detection events out in something we call a priority alert. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So what I've pushed out in this case is a few things. First off, what is it? It's a gun detection. Where is it? It's in my office. Two, we're pushing out the image and a video of the event. About 6 seconds of video on either side of it. And this is what we would push out in anything, whether it's coming straight out to the Omnilert network or via some other integration. So this is what would get pushed out to my NVR. This is what would get pushed out to any other solution that we're integrated with, as well as a lat and long when it's available. Now, if I'm staying within the Omnilert network, I've got a carousel down here of predetermined responses, predetermined workflows that I've identified that I want to attach to my detection event. And specifically, any of this information located in the priority alert is fair game for me to push out as a part of this predetermined solution. So whether I'm clicking a button to lock down the building or push a message out to first responders, or just let on-campus folks know, hey, go check this out, all of that information becomes a part of that message I'm pushing out. Now, in this case, since I don't want to alarm anyone, I'm sending out a test message. But you'll notice it's going to log that someone made an action, and we enact the Omnilert service to push this message out to everyone in the field. We push out by text message from my server to the cloud. Sorry, from the server to the cloud, from the cloud to text message, and to the proprietary Omnilert app. If I scroll back, you'll see a whole lot of stuff going on there. Our native integrations with things like NVRs or other things coming directly from the server, pretty open integration. We use an HTTP push, which is pretty ubiquitous at this point. We do have some integrations built with popular manufacturers as well. Now, if I jump back in here, and sorry for the little break in continuity there. So let's see what we got here. Let's talk a little bit about the prevention suite. Prevention suite is what we call the Omnilert network working in conjunction with all of our disparate pieces. From our cloud-based platform, reaching out to physical devices like the Omnilert gun detection server, like your access control system, like your on-prem digital signs, desktops, what have you, out to your end users, your subscribers, the people that are using the system and being alerted. So that would be pushing things out to cell phones, to social media, to desktops, to email, people wherever they are, or pushing out to other systems that are going to be pushing these notices out as well, other notification systems. Devices like your beacon system on campus that might have disparate pieces plugged into it. The Omnilert platform itself is cloud-based, part of the AWS platform. That means we're secure, means that we're easy to maintain. We have lots of integrations on both ends. Companies like Genetec, companies like Eagle Eye, like Vizix, to name a few. And we send and receive from a wide variety of platforms. We've broken our system down similar to how I talked about our kind of growing up a little bit. Having platforms for simply outbound notification, for two-way communication and what we call mass engagement, and for incident management, the ability to predefine those workflows, those scenarios, so that I'm launching a complex series of responses with a single button when I identify an issue. The notify tier gets multimodal alerting with a easy-to-use, quick loading interface. Engage uses people's locations and their status to allow you a small team of individuals to manage targeted alerting to those in the greatest needs. While manage rolls in, as I said, those scenarios so you can activate your response instantly with outside systems, like a security system. The prevention part of it is what we saw in my Omnilert application there, and that's going to be what we call a priority alert. A priority alert turns your ENS, your Omnilert ENS specifically, into a tool for prevention, not just something that you're using to push a message out to your folks. This allows, as I said, a small group of individuals, wherever they are, to receive event-triggered alerts. I mentioned our panic button capability earlier. I mentioned our National Weather Service integration, gun detection, things like tips coming from your subscribers, your campus community in the field. And pretty soon we're going to be opening up this platform to accept incoming notifications from other devices out there using an API so that you have the ability, for example, when a system like your HVAC system breaks down or is too hot or too cold for your servers, that you get a notice, and then within the Omnilert application, you receive that as your IT director or whoever's on call for the day, and within the application can push back an action, turn it down, turn it up. In the case of a panic button, reach out to that subscriber, see where they are, see what they're doing, offer them assistance. In the case of a weather alert, obviously, if you've ever seen a National Weather Service alert, they send here in Buffalo at least about 30 or 40 an hour when we get some snow. Not meant for public consumption, but might be something you want to push out to the expert at your organization and let them vet what you need to pass on. Get that notice, pass it on with a single click. We utilize what we call the Omnilert Instant App, which is just another way of deploying a safety application. We work in two ways, either the localized, download it and install it application, or what we call the Instant App or App on Demand. We push out by text message that link, by email, a link that you can click through to get to your app experience. That simple link changes everything. It means that instead of having everyone on your premises download and install, which if you've tried to wrangle folks into downloading and installing something, you know it's never 100% coverage. But pushing out a link so that they can quickly click through means that your app-based features become exposed to everyone in your organization, whether or not they download the application. Big deal, especially in situations where you're dealing with a large distributed workforce, or in the case of a higher ed or K through 12 organization, lots of folks who don't want you putting things on their phone. This means that those app-based tools, using things like location, become available to everyone, whether or not they take that extra step and download and install. We also have desktop alerting, desktop application. Same functionality as our web app, same functionality as our Android and iOS app for Windows and Macintosh. Two products in one. That is the desktop functionality, identical to our Android and iOS functionality, the ability to push tips, the ability to view a resource library, the ability to get those app alerts and the priority alerts if you're an administrator, but also the ability to do a full screen takeover, the traditional desktop broadcast that has been around for a handful of years. So the desktop alerting, we actually just released an update within the last week or two, bringing some enhanced functionality there as well. And lastly, I do need to mention Omnilert Engage just because it is unique to our organization. The Engage piece is another part of our Omnilert notification system, which is quite literally two-way communication at scale. We use a question and answer functionality when you push a message out to those app users so that you maintain that one interface, one unified notification system, and pull back feedback. Because if you're asking for narrative responses from 100, 1,000, or 10,000 or more individuals, you're having 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 individual conversations. by using a polling mechanism. You're able to very quickly perform triage, putting people into categories based on their responses. Or even if it's as simple as, are you okay? Yes or no. Or do you need assistance? Yes or no. You can then quickly commit your resources to the people that need assistance, whether that is a a 2-question survey, or something more in depth, like a COVID response or a return to work survey. Omnilert Engage has the ability to pull location, pull answers, so that you can talk to the people that you need to, um, in the order you need to speak with them. So if I could wrap it all up, just start to finish, when it comes to our prevention suite, what it's really about is your on-premises safety, um, hardware, your IP cameras, integrating with Omnilert Gun Detect, uh, sees that gun, that gunman, that person pulling a firearm, immediately, within seconds, vets that is an issue and dispatches that out to your security personnel or your designated responders, the people to receive that information. Within a few seconds, we saw earlier, you vet that image. Is that a gun? Is that a threat? Yes or no? Through the image, through the video, and within seconds, not minutes, you can quickly push out a response, a full multimodal barrage of notifications and activities, text messages, emails, uh, flashing lights on desktops, alerting beacons, pushing things out to your access control system. And time from alert, time from detection to action is seconds, not minutes. And it all happens before a shot is fired, not in response to a shot. That's really what Omnilert gun detection and our prevention tool is all about. And Janice, you can jump back in. I know I only took about 15 minutes there. We said total presentation time to be about 30. I might have moved a little bit fast, um, but I'd like to open it up for questions if I can.
Okay, so while they start flooding in, Eric, the first one that we have is, can you please talk to me about the privacy and security of my video feeds?
Sure. It's one of the reasons that we go in and use a hybrid implementation, where we're doing on-premises detection and cloud alerting. What that means is that your feeds never leave your premises. They're going to go from your cameras to your server. And the only thing that's going to leave your environment is going to be those detection events if you're pushing them out to Omnilert. So that image, that location, that small snippet of video, that's what's going to come to us securely on AWS and down to your the folks that you designate to make those responses. So realistically, your feeds are never going to leave your environment, and the detection events are only going to go to the individuals that you designate. I hope that
Okay, terrific. The next question is, can you please, let's see if I can open this up, talk about false positives?
Sure. I will. I know that's one of the first questions we get all the time. And false positives, when you're using AI, they happen. I'm not going to say that they don't. I will say that we do not have a large false positive problem because of the way that we train our AI, because of the way that we work. Um, we're not, as I said, an image matching system. It is a legitimate, black box AI, a neural network that has been trained specifically to look for individuals and guns in hand. We're not looking for guns on counters. We're not looking for something that looks like a gun that's lying in the middle of a floor somewhere. We're looking for individuals with firearms. That there limits our false positives quite a bit. Secondly, we train our system regularly. When you implement Omnilert Gun Detect, you're not implementing a snapshot of the AI today. You're implementing the AI today, the training data that we're going to gather from your on-premises cameras over the next week, and every trained deployment that we do after that. So your server is going to be regularly updated. It's why we're an annual service and not something that you buy off a shelf and plug in. This is a living, breathing, for lack of a better term, AI that is going to learn and is going to improve. I will tell you, in deployments that I've been involved with in the last year, there are some cases where we do get a few more than usual false positives in the first couple weeks. adjusting to that environment, adjusting to how we handle those cameras, and training the AI pulls those out pretty quickly. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, absolutely. The next question is there a resolution requirement for the cameras to be used with Omnilert?
Sure. It's less a resolution requirement and more resolution guidelines. We work like any other visual analytic that's out there. And what I mean by that is we work on a pixels per foot measurement. We like the same pixels per foot as something like a license plate reader. So we like pixels, 30 pixels per foot. Realistically, what that means is if you're using something like a 1080p camera, with a standard depth of field or width and depth of field, you're going to get like a 30 to 40 foot reliable detection range. As you get higher in your camera clarity, narrow it down or wider, it's going to change how far that's going to go. I will say in deployments we've got now, we've got some high-end cameras out there that are getting reliable detections out to 200 plus feet. There are calculators that you can use to test your individual cameras to see how they perform. It's also a little bit environmental dependent. This is why we do consultative sales and not just sell you something, like I said, off the shelf.
Okay, the next question is, does the AI identify a gun on the person before a gun is drawn or brandished? Is there any attempt to identify concealed weapons?
Being a visual detection system, finding concealed weapons is difficult. If it is something that is hidden from view, obviously the camera is not going to see it. Obviously, the AI isn't going to be able to process it. It works very similar to a person actually watching a camera. It's looking for individuals with guns. Seeing a gun in a backpack, people always ask that. If I had a gun in a backpack or a briefcase, can visual detection systems see it? I will tell you, it is one of the weaknesses of having a visual system. If I go back to the comparison guide that we've got, you'll notice a handful of things. Visual detection, really good in a handful of places. Um, some of the things that the weaker things are seeing hidden weapons. The only real way you're going to get that is with something like a metal detector or one of those, I think, millimeter wave radars that they use now, where you're literally setting up stanchions for people to walk through and look for them. I'm not going to say it's not something we're considering and not looking into using a combination of different things, but right now, visual detection is best at seeing weapons in hand, brandished weapons. And we specifically train ours to ignore weapons in the hip, holstered weapons, because like I said, we work in lots of environments, um, campuses, higher ed campuses, or even law enforcement offices, where seeing a weapon on the hip is very common. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, the next question is, and you might have answered this, Eric, but I'll read it anyhow. What is the range for AI detection to be accurate? 100-foot, 50-foot example, stadiums with camera distances away.
Sure. And again, it is all going to come down to that pixels per foot measurement. If we're looking at a 1080p camera, I think those are perfect indoors and hallways. If you're looking for outdoor detection, you're really going to be looking at more things like composite cameras or higher end 4K or above cameras to get that long throw. It really comes down to that measurement of how many pixels are going to represent a foot. Good rule of thumb is if you can zoom in on the image with the naked eye and make out a gun or read a license plate, the AI should be able to pick off that gun as well.
Okay, terrific. So if this system were to be placed in a school, how many cameras would I need? I would imagine one in every room. So how would this system approximately cost for a school? How much would this system approximately cost for a school?
Well, our pricing comes down to the number of cameras that are plugged in. We're a software manufacturer, so the software itself is licensed per camera. If we're talking a small implementation, a handful of cameras, 6 or 8, you're looking at about $1,000 per camera per year. That scales, of course, as you add more cameras up to the 200 cameras or so. You're probably looking at about $250 per camera. Whether you put a camera in every room, completely up to you. I know that most organizations that I'm working with are first and foremost concerned about things like entrances and egresses and common areas before they start drilling down into things like classrooms where privacy becomes a concern.
Okay. The next question is, do the detection systems need to be incorporated with existing security systems, or do I need a new setup?
Well, since we use IP-based cameras and we monitor RTSP streams, it can use an existing IP-based camera system, or if you have an older school camera system that feeds into an NVR that is capable of pushing out RTSP streams, that's specifically what we're looking for. So the vast majority of the time, if you're using a somewhat modern video system, we can use your existing cameras.
Okay. Along that lines, if I already have a crisis communication system in place, can it integrate with my system?
In a couple different ways, yes. And I'm gonna, without getting too far in the weeds, the caveats there being it depends on how you want that to happen. The gun detect server could push out messages directly to whatever system you want to plug it into. We've got a handful of integrations built, but our integration format is a fairly common API format. So programming to that, super simple. I know that if we were not the same company, our gun detect server would be capable of pushing out to RENS just using our open integrations. Secondly, if you still want to use the capability of receiving that alert on a cell phone in its form, using that priority alert card, and then pushing a message out from there, the ENS portion could be licensed at a limited capacity that would allow you to push it out to your existing crisis communication system. So there's lots of options there. Short answer, yes, bunch of different ways to do it.
Okay. This is a very common question. Does gun detect identify other weapons as well, including knives, stun guns, etc.?
I get a lot of questions about whether or not it detects knives. We have trained our AI specifically to look for handguns and long guns because that's the big threat. That's really where we started. That's the big concern. Looking for things like knives, bats, stun guns, it's just another layer of complexity on top of it. In its current form, this AI looks for pistols and rifles. Not to say that it couldn't look for knives down the line, or we could roll out an additional, piece of AI on top of it. Not something it does today. Just as an aside, knives are hard. It's a really small profile. The blades are in some places invisible. Training an AI to look for that, it's probably the same as talking to your guy in the dispatch room looking at a camera. There's a lot of context involved. Not something that we do today.
Okay. And I know that you've covered this before, but it begs being answered again.
Mm-hmm.
How does the system distinguish between on-site security and police from a bad guy with a gun?
Sure. We do that right now by looking for brandished weaponry, assuming that if someone's got a gun in hand, it's a situation, whether or not that's a good guy or a bad guy with a gun. We don't look for guns in holsters. We don't look for guns strapped on backs. We look for guns at the ready. I hesitate to use the word threat detection, but we train the system to look for guns being held. And you'll find that if I were to walk around in front of it, holding the gun at the ready, it's going to pick up on it pretty quick. As I raise that into, for a rifle in front of me, I don't know if you can see me holding it, or even into a firing position, that's optimal detection. It's going to see that way quicker. We identify guns pretty fast. The main way that we make that detection is by training the system not to look for holstered weaponry.
Okay. So this is a question that we anticipated. Where is Gun Detect currently deployed? Who is currently purchasing the product?
Sure. I can't give any names because of NDAs. One of the big things about gun detects is, it's non-intrusive. It runs whether you see it or not. It's not like a big metal detector at the door to a high school where everyone knows what you're looking for. We do have it running in a handful of locations or a handful of types of locations that I can refer to. Big logistics warehouses, shipping warehouses are utilizing gun detect. Manufacturing facilities utilizing gun detect, and of course K through 12 are utilizing gun detect. I haven't seen a lot of penetration into higher education at this point, but we're definitely getting interest in it. I think higher ed folks are a little bit wait and see when it comes to new technology. I'd love to mention names. Unfortunately, right now, I can't. That's the marketing folks are working on those contracts.
Working on it. Okay, last question
Mhm.
is you mentioned how gun detect compares with other solutions. How does Omnilert gun detect compare with the competition?
Sure. I would say in a handful of ways without talking a whole lot. Um, we train our AI differently. Our AI is probably almost as old as our company. It was in use in Afghanistan back in the mid 2000s looking for rocket propelled grenades. And it is a black box AI. And what I mean by that is it's a neural network. It is a learning algorithm that has been trained to look for weapons and how they are used and held rather than looking for pictures of guns and trying to do a match. And what that means is that it's a decision-making piece of software. It's not looking at a picture of a gun and saying, does this look like any of these specific guns that we're looking at? It is looking at it and saying, does this behave like a gun? Does it meet all of these things that I've been taught is make up what a gun is? And occasionally that can get you a false detection if someone's threatening someone else with something that looks very gun-like. That is one thing that makes us stand out from our competition. Two, we're the only one natively integrated with a communications platform like Omnilert. We push a message out to your on-premises folks, your decision makers, and let them pick it up and take the action from there. We're not, selling you a security service like a monitoring service on your home. We're selling you the tools. That is a big difference. I do think that anybody in our organization will tell you pound for pound, we get less false detections, we get quicker positives. I wish more data existed that somebody out there would measure how we stack up against the competition. But those are the big differences.
And although I said it was the last question, two more just came in,
Sure.
Eric, and they're important ones. It said, you mentioned your system uses people's locations for notifications. Can these notifications be sent to responders based on GPS position? Can you talk to me more about that feature?
Okay, the Engage platform uses location for two-way communication. Priority alerting is tied in platform-wide. At this point, it does not take GPS location into account. Doesn't mean it's not something we're looking at. It has been an idea that has been tossed around half a dozen times in the last few months. Right now, it's not something that we're using.
And the last question is, if I hold a cell phone up in front of gun detect, does it know that it's a gun or a cell phone?
I mean, I don't know if you saw you might have missed the presentation earlier. I did have a cell phone in my hand and was waving it around, and it did label it a cell phone. Like I said, we're kind of required to develop a cell phone detector in order to differentiate it from a firearm, just because it is the most common thing that you see in hand these days. Um, yeah,
Okay, this is actually the last question. Is it integrated into Milestone VMS?
we do not have native Milestone integration built today. Um, I'm going to say that I'm going to leave it at that. Today we do not. Not to say it's not something that we will have. I know my integration team is doing a whole lot of work, and Milestone is something that's on our radar. Today we've got a few built in conjunction with the companies. Milestone is not one of them. However, it is an open integration method, and the integration is fairly easy. I think the more calls that we get from Milestone, the more likely it's going to happen sooner than later.
Okay, great presentation. Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you, attendees, for all of these questions. We really appreciate you joining us today. Each of you will be getting a follow-up email with a link to download our brand new Gun Detect white paper that we've just published this week. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, it will also include information about how to schedule your own demonstration and talk to an expert here at Omnilert about gun detect or any of our other offerings. So again, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.